Hello everyone and welcome to the second Collector's CouchBlab podcast. My name is Ben and these are my two co-hosts.
I'm Hope.
I'm Tiffany.
And today we're going to be talking about a little line in the toy industry from 2004 called Xevoz, which was this small little toy line that became as soon as about probably when it ended, because there was only in stores, I believe, for like one entire season of the year, and then they disappeared. In fact, some people don't even know what I'm talking about because of how obscure some of these are.
Yeah, this is like a niche subject that you've picked for today, Ben. Like, the last wave didn't even make it to stores. Like, it had to be through cons only.
Hey.
Yeah, and apparently it still has a really big fan base behind it, despite
Hey, man, I'm trying my best. Like, I actually had a bunch of these, and I've always wanted to talk about them because I didn't really find many people talking about it online, so I thought, hey, why don't we talk about it ourselves? Because these are pretty interesting. What they are essentially are these little figures that are basically a bunch of pieces that you combine into just random like assortments. They kind of just pop into place with little pegs and stuff with all their different limbs. So you can switch and mix, match and stuff. Kind of like stuff like Micronauts, but instead of like magnets, it's like, again, plastic pegs and stuff. Because what essentially these things were, they were kind of based off a little line known as Stick Fuzz, which came out around, I think, 2002. And what those were these solid colored figures that are similar in the way because they're all made in pegs, and they would basically come in these pieces because they were kind of almost like a parody of like Japanese like figures, model kits and stuff based off like Gundam stuff. But they thought, why don't we make something that looks similar but can also be used to play with as well?
Yeah, these things weren't they were known for like interchangeable body parts and stuff like that. Like, you could basically take out the individual pieces and swap them out to whatever you wanted, and you could even like switch them between different types of sets in order to be able to use them.
Yeah, it kind of sounds like these guys who made these toys were going for like a mix and match Bionicle, except with 10 times more inscrutable lore and 100 times more obscure.
Well, see, I don't think the lore is really that important, because, like, since they're based off Stick Fuzz, and again, Stick Fuzz were so basic and bare, like, they were always called, like, each figure was always called something really generic, right? Like, policeman or superhero or something like that. It's basically giving the
Everyone's favorite hero, policeman.
Oh.
It is the man. He polices.
Yeah.
It's his job. He does it.
Yeah, but essentially, they would be so simple because they wanted the kids to use their imaginations, obviously. And I think you can say the same thing with Xevoz themselves. Yes, they came with characters that had names and, like, somewhat backstories they wrote on the back of their blister cards and stuff like that. But it's like, yeah, I ignored it when I was a kid, like that stuff. I just thought, hey, look, that looks like a cool skeleton guy. I'm going to get it. Because, again, I had a bunch of these. These also came with, like, little dice rolling things, almost like these buildable rolling like cylinder looking things that you would like switch them, and they had like attack powers, and it's because there was supposed to be some type of game played based around these figures. But again, I ignored the shit out of that stuff. Like, I would just play with the figures because they were cool, like they were wacky and they were fun.
Oh, so you actually have some of these?
Oh,
then,
yeah.
Ben?
Well, see, I have what I essentially have is a lot of them in a pile of pieces in a drawer. Because
yes, well maintained.
Yeah, because I actually lost. Well, this is when I was a kid, so there's plenty of pieces that I probably are missing. They're somewhere.
You know how much those would be worth if you had them all together?
Probably not that much, but
maybe like a good $2. You know.
No, they can go for a pretty penny. Like, if you want some of these, some of them go around for like 20 to 40 online. For like each one, if it's mint in the box or something like that.
I've seen certain sets retailing for like a good 70 or so.
Oh yeah.
Oh damn.
Yeah, certain ones are harder to get than others because essentially there were like 4 lines, originally 5 actually. There were going to be 5 lines, but the last line didn't even come out because, again, no one was buying them because no one knew they existed, so they didn't last that long. So the 5th series didn't even come out, which I think there was actually like a Kickstarter to try to get the 5th series made to be sold online or something, but I don't know if that ever came to fruition.
I mean, there's an easy way to check that, though. We're in the present day and they're not here, so must have failed.
Well, I don't know. But it seems really interesting. Again, a lot of these were weird. Like, this was obviously meant strive to advertise to like boys, especially because there was like dark skeleton guy, robot guy with a brain in his head, giant bug man versus ninja.
Yeah, that's usually the sort of thing where like, not because it was like, oh, it was for boys that it repelled me. I think it's more just kind of, you know, since that was what basically they were marketing is like, this is exclusively for boys. Seeing that kind of stuff as a kid, I probably would have been like, I don't think that's meant for me, and I probably would have just skipped it altogether.
Yeah, I think in 2004, like, this wouldn't have drawn me in either. I was too busy being enamored by Pokemon and maybe like Mighty Beans or something like that, you know, for all the personality that these figures had.
I didn't really play with Mighty Beans as much. I saw like the faces on them and I was like, no.
Yeah, I just like throwing them around. You know, putting them down ramps, which is more than I could probably do with these figures, actually.
Oh, God. Well, I don't think really you can compare these to Mighty Beans. They're kind of in a different thing altogether.
Well, these
right.
are posables, so you could get them to do whatever you really want.
Yeah.
You know, that's kind of the appeal with a lot of these figurines, and like Ben mentioned, you know, if you don't read the blurb, you could pretty much fill it in for whatever you want, and it gives you more of an ability to do whatever you'd like with the arms.
Well, like, how posable are they? Like,
I mean,
are they, like, really articulated? Is it worth all the mix and matching they're put through?
Yeah, because they all have little peg joints on basically all pieces of their limbs, you can basically get so much, like, different posing out of it to a ridiculous degree. I mean, back in my day, I used to just put pegs, like, where they didn't belong. Like, I would make a giant monstrosity, like, out of, like, have something with huge, long arms made out of, like, 6 different characters' arms that would just stretch out super far. I would just make a freakish, like, junk pile. Remember in Toy Story 2 when Woody has that dream sequence in the trash can and then the arms are pulling him down and they're made out of a bunch of toys? It's kind of looked like that.
See,
I remember that scene
where, like, you attach like 10 arms together and then you just turn into like Freddy Krueger with the really long arms.
I mean, kinda. What I would essentially do, and again, these things came with so many different parts. Like, I mean, you had basically all the regular body parts, but you would always have like 2 or 3 different something heads, like a bunch of different hand assortments, obviously a bunch of different weapons to be placed on, armor pieces and all that. Like, they would even come with gag pieces, which are essentially just like funny, like, additional stuff that doesn't even make sense going on there. I remember, like, the bug monster, I think, had like a light bulb you could put on as a head. It was just like a green light bulb.
Oh yeah, I did read about that.
Or some of them would just have, like, here's this regular soldier guy, but he has a random, like, freakish, mutated, fleshy hand piece for some reason that you can just put on him for no reason.
Now, I take issue with that. What if I wanted to, like, replace all of his pieces with freaky mutant pieces? Why is it just his hand?
Well, see, that's why you gotta buy more, because you can put any part on any other one, and it works.
Buy things with money? I don't think so.
It's almost like they're trying to get you to collect them all.
It's not for me.
Well, yeah, they didn't do a very good job then, huh?
Well, I bought most of them. At least most of the first set.
Yeah, but this is you, Ben.
I know.
Hey, you got suckered in.
Speaking of which, can I ask a question?
Yeah, sure.
When I was reading up and trying to teach myself a little bit more about what these things were, I saw something that they were talking about price points or whatever. What exactly are the price points?
Now, when you say price points, are you, like, referring to how much they're going for nowadays, or the price point in terms of, like, what do people look for when they're judging how much it's worth?
Well, she's asking you here, man. Like,
well, I'm asking, like, they had, like, 5 different sections that you could get. Like, one of them apparently was, like, you could get a basic pack, or a deluxe pack, or a 2.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, okay, I get you now. Okay, so essentially, most of the regular figures would be just, like, one character in one box. That's, like, your regular basic thing, right? Then there would be like 2-packs. Like the Bugman and the Ninja were a 2-pack, and they were kind of like you could only get them if you bought that deluxe thing with them in both of them in there together, stuff like that. So that's usually what that means.
Yeah, they also got like deluxe 2-pack, but also like vehicle and transporter. And vehicle, it seems like, was really trying to mimic the Transformers series a little bit, like figures that can be reassembled into vehicles.
But what essentially comes down to, like, I think these are still fun toys. Like, I think anybody even today would still play with these. Like, I think mostly the reason, again, these didn't do well is because they didn't do that much advertising for them. Now, there's a trailer out there. You can actually find it on YouTube to watch it, but it really doesn't explain that much about the actual figures. It's trying to do that like early 2000s advertising where it's like dark alleyway and this mysterious box that has this weird stuff in it and glowing stuff, and then it shows like the figures like for a brief second, but it really doesn't do anything in terms of like...
Oh man, they didn't do the thing where it's just like with Kung Fu Action Grip, look at the car go, then it crashes into all those like plastic ice boxes. And didn't do that.
No.
Yeah, in middle school, I had a whole class devoted to warning me against false advertising, and they showed examples of that specifically.
Oh, Jesus. So you are familiar with these to a certain degree.
Now the
real... Oh, yeah, like, my that's probably why I hate collecting things so much, because I can see the ruse behind it.
Which makes you perfect for the Collector's Podcast.
No, gross.
Oh, jeez. Okay, but you know what my biggest question is? Where on earth do you get those, like, white ice cube-looking block things that were in every toy commercial that they would stack the figures on top of and ram a vehicle through it to make a figure fall down off of it? They were in every commercial, but you could never buy those, like, at your toy store.
Graciously accompanied by, like, a kid going, whoa! And then, like, the thing crashes into everything, and then the thing turns towards the camera, and then it hits somebody, and the toy goes flying, and then
I don't know.
Get it.
Like, I have a couple of those things in my basement, but I don't know where I picked them up.
So those do exist. You can, in fact, buy those.
Hope, are you telling me
I don't know where I got them.
Hope, are you telling me you were one of those children in those commercials that said, oh, wow?
No.
With Kung Fu Action Grip.
I never showed that much joy towards corporations when I was a child. I still don't now.
But essentially, in the end, I guess what you could say is, if you're looking to get any of these, again, they're kind of pricey nowadays, especially if you're looking for them online, because, again, there's been sort of a fan base growing out of these things because of their recent trend of their obscurity. And people want kind of those, like, rarer stuff that wasn't out on the market for long. So if you're willing to get a set of these, you're probably going to have to spend couple hundred to get a good amount of them. But I would say, overall, if you do manage to find any of these relatively cheap, I would get them. If you're a collector or if you want something that's cool for your kid to play with, these are really fun, because I had a lot of fun playing with them when I was a kid. Again, just remember, if you're going to try to find them loose out of the packaging, you might want to read up on how many parts were with them, because, again, even as a kid, I lost primary parts to some of these. Like, I remember the bug guy had 4 legs. I missed, like, 2 pieces that held like his back legs together, so I couldn't have.
So now he just has 2 legs.
And he's
still bipedal.
He can still stand. It's fine.
So I mean, I guess if you find joy in obscure stuff like this, like holding on to something that was way past its time but also pretty cool, I guess you should pick these up.
Yeah, I mean,
dig them out of the drawer somewhere.
I would say, like, they should really try and give this series another shot, because I still feel like they could probably sell nowadays with all the weird stuff that's out on the market nowadays. Like, I feel like these would be pretty fun.
Go get it, your local KB Toys.
KB Toys is gone forever.
Oh yeah, it is. It's dead.
Oh, what a shame.
Well,
Not really.
eBay to this day is still around. You could probably find a good set or 2 on there for not that expensive.
Oh,
like
yeah.
we mentioned, the basic sets you could probably get for somewhere between $5 to $10, and then be able to check these out for yourself.
Yeah, I'm sure if I had these, I would want to sell them for massive amounts of money.
Oh my god.
Jesus.
Well, I think that pretty much covers it for the Xevoz today. If you guys want to hear more from us, you can support us through our Patreon, where if you give us at least $5 a month, you can listen to some additional podcast stuff that we actually record that only you get to hear. This includes like movie and potentially TV commentaries, and also an additional show that we call Girls Night Out, where my two co-hosts here basically and I watch a movie that was usually advertised to little girls, either both good or bad, and we basically give our general thoughts about it. But if you want to hear more free stuff from us, you can check us out at YouTube, SoundCloud, and our blog spot homepage.
And we also are on iTunes as well.
Oh yeah, that's right. We're now on iTunes. And if you're wondering why this recording and the previous Vamp podcast has come out like a week in between the last series of podcasts that we did, we're actually doing a new schedule. Essentially what we're doing is we're going to be releasing a week's worth of podcasts every other week, essentially, because we have other things in our lives and we are trying to get as much as we can recorded, but sometimes we fall behind and we don't really want to be pressured into last minuting these things, ultimately because we want to give you guys the best podcast that we can give out. And if we like get moody or tired, we're not really putting all of our all into this. So we really are thinking of you guys when we came up with this decision.
Yeah, basically too long, didn't listen. We're on a bi-weekly schedule now, but we still want to bring you the best content we can.
Yeah, giving us that extra time will allow us to, properly run these through Audition, make sure the sound quality is good, the editing is proper, so that way, you get exactly what you want. And being able to upload them to all our various sites, because we got to run it through YouTube, we got to run it through SoundCloud, update the iTunes file, so on and so forth. It takes us a little bit to get everything set up. So we want to make sure that we can still deliver really good content, but also, schedule ourselves the time that we have to both edit these, get them the best quality possible, and also be able to manage our daily lives.
Well, I think that about covers it, you guys. I would just like to say that, it was fun recording this, and tomorrow we're recording what, Tiffany, for our animation podcast?
We are going to be talking about Fantastic Planet.
Oh boy.
It is a classic French film, and it's a doozy. It's a very strange, if not very surrealistic film, but I think it's definitely something that if you're part of the more, what's the word I'm looking for, abstract crowd, you might find some appreciation in this.
Okay, well, I'm gonna go ahead and go switch my hands out with a gun and a fishtail. So, see ya!
Alrighty then, see you tomorrow.
Bye!